All right, well, back out here at beautiful Country Club of Sioux Falls. Again, my name is Ryan Jansa. Welcome to another Free Tip Friday. If you joined us last time we were out here, we're working on a little bit of the short game, so I figured the best way the next step is to transition over here to, unfortunately, I find myself in a bunker. Fortunately for you, I'm going to teach you how to do a better job of getting out of them. The sand trap, sand traps, bunkers, sand bunkers, you'll hear it called a bunch of different things. But anyway, so we're in a sand bunker or a sand trap. You'll hear guys say, oh, I'm in the beach. Well, trust me, it's not nearly as much fun as the beach. There's nobody else here but me, and it gets to be pretty lonely. So technically, a sand trap or a bunker is a hazard. So there are some specific rules within the hazard, within the bunker that you have to pay attention to. We'll go over a little bit of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the technique. And we're going to talk about a couple different different types of sand: hard sand, soft sand, balls sitting up, balls sitting down. Like I told you last time, I think if you're going to spend some time, this is an area that you can certainly spend some time. Guys get frustrated. They're like, I can't get out of the bunker. Well, when's the last time you practiced out of one? I grew up, I spent hours and hours and hours in here hoping that I wouldn't hit it in them. But if I did hit them, I needed to be pretty proficient on getting out and getting it up and down as quickly as possible. You'll hear guys that get up and down, they say, oh, I got a sandy. Out in one, in the hole, and in the next shot is a sandy. Okay, so we're gonna go over first couple things in the bunker. So when we're in the sand trap, we can't touch the sand with our club until we make contact with the ball, when we're actually in the act of swinging. We can't touch it on the way back. We can't ever touch it. So when you get in, you can't test the sand. You can't take practice swings in it. A little bit different now with some of the rules, in a hazard area or a penalty area, as it's called. You're able to ground your club and do some different stuff in there. In a sand trap, it's a little bit different. We're still gonna make sure that we're not touching the sand. So the number one goal here is to get the ball from here out into play again. Do you have to hit it close? No. Is it nice? Yes, it would be great. But the goal is to not continually leave ourselves in here. Well, how do we do that? Well, we're going to use, again, like we talked last time, I'm using you'll hear it called a lob wedge, or my highest lofted wedge, which is a 58. Now, these are specifically designed, the reason they're called sand wedges, they're designed originally to help you get out of the sand. And they have this, I'll call it like a little hump on the back, it's called the bounce. And the bounce is specifically designed to help you get out of the sand without, digging big trenches. So what we want to do is, when we're in the bunker, is we're going to allow ourselves to utilize this bounce, which is going to keep the club from getting too deep into the sand and letting the ball come out of it, okay? So for me, I grew up, I loved hitting shots out of the sand trap. Since then, I've had, many different lessons, many different iterations, and I feel like my technique is better and I'm able to get the ball out more consistently. So a couple things. Again, we talked last time in the short game where we want to keep our weight forward. That is critical in the bunker. We're going to start with that specifically from a setup standpoint. We need to make sure that our weight starts forward and stays forward. We don't want it to start forward and fall back, because then we're going to hit shots that look something like this. And that is trouble. We're already in enough trouble. We just got to get it out as best we can. So by allowing ourselves to stay on the left side, that allows the club to come in more steep, make contact with the sand, and then that bounce that we talked about is going to help the club glide through the sand without digging. So this is an open face. This is a closed face. I'll show you the difference in how they interact with the sand. So if I come through with a closed face and I'm steep, what does the club want to do? You can see, it wants to dig, right? So now we're going to set this club up just a little bit more open, and we're going to let the bounce, that little bump on the back of your sandwich, help it bounce off the sand. You can see I'm coming in steep, club's not getting very deep. You'll hear a lot of times when you're watching those players play on TV, especially some of the best in the world, they call it the thump. They're like, oh, what a great thump sound that made. And that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to allow ourselves to get into the bunker. And then alignment. What do I do with my feet? You'll see a lot of guys get really wide open. I think when I was a junior, I probably started very open. Since then, the trend is a little bit more having to almost get shut to the target, or a little bit closed with your feet. Square is also very good. That allows us to stay consistent with our path and send the ball out towards the target. So for me, when I practice and I'm gonna be out here working on it, I like to line up a few balls. So I might put 3 or 4 balls out here like this. And really what I'm gonna focus on here is I'm gonna focus on where I want the club to impact the sand, okay? So this shot is, I'll call it medium, not very long, but medium. And so in my mind, what I'm thinking is, I'm thinking like, oh, and mostly because I've been doing it a long time, I make a little mark, and you can only do this when you practice. So don't do it when you're out on the golf course. But when we're practicing, we have the luxury of making a little line in the sand. And what we want to do is we want that club to come in, and this is, hopefully you'll be able to see it on the video. So there's the little line. I want that club to hit that spot, just like that. So you see how I just kind of hit the mark, okay? Well, if we get consistent with hitting the mark, and the nice part is, you can do it without a ball. So now I got my line, you can just stand here and practice. Making that line disappear. And once you get that technique down, this next part's gonna be easier. So for me, when I'm in the bunker, I wanna get weight left. I set my club face open just a little bit, and partly because the sand out here is pretty soft. If this sand was a little bit more firm and I was worried about the ball hitting them thin, I might get the face a little bit more square to allow the club to take a little more sand. But in this case, it's a reasonably short bunker shot, so I'm gonna keep the face a little open. Weights on the left. Now, the last time we talked, we were talking about very small, short little movements, okay? Here to here, okay? Well, the sand's heavy. We want to make sure that we have enough club head speed, enough speed to get the club to go through the sand and get our ball out of the bunker. So you'll hear people talk about a decel, where they slow down coming in. And here's a good example. They take that big swing and then they slow down. That looks pretty common. You also notice that that's what happens is the club wants to dig and get a little bit too deep. For me, I want to stay nice and consistent. I want the club to go back with a little bit more hinge. And when I say hinge, that's not just straight arms. We don't want straight arms. We want to let the club naturally kind of get back there and fall into its own spot. And then what I'm really letting do, I want that club to already start to kind of release so that when I finish, that club's again, like we talked about on the pitch, is kind of looking back at me. So again, I'm going to focus on this line. I'm going to get my weight left. I'm going to keep the club a little bit open. And that's what I'm really focused on. I want that club to come in on that spot, release, up. So the ball comes out nice and high and soft. Let's see if we can pull it off here. So again, weight a little bit left, club's a little open. Ball comes out pretty nice and soft. This green is running away from me, so if I was out on the golf course, I might hit a little bit different shot. I might hit the shot like this. Now the club face is a little bit more open. Technique is the same. Weight is left, little hinge, getting steep into the impact, stay left on my left foot. You can see that I almost want to feel like I could hit it just with my left leg in the ground without getting this way. Once you tip this way, where you expose your chest to the target, you're going to have big trouble. You're either going to hit it thin or fat because your shoulder's getting too close. All right, so this one I'm going to hit a little higher. So again, I'm weight left, club's a little bit more open, and you'll see them on tour. They're going to have the face like this. So I'll show you, this is one with the face really open. And you can see how nice and soft that one came out compared to the first one. Okay, so I always tell my daughter's an exceptionally good player. She plays at South Dakota State, super proud of her. I figure I'd give her a little mention, Reese. I spent a lot of time with Reese in here when she was a kid, and I tell her two things. Being good out of the bunker takes two things, speed and courage. Once you lose either one of those, your outcomes are going to be bad. Once you start to slow down or you lose the courage, a lot of shots end up there. And then the problem with that is we got to do it again. And the closer you get, typically, sometimes the harder it gets. Again, so I'm going to go, this is the micro version of it. So in my mind, when I'm practicing, I'm going to put a line back there. It's always nice to have a little cheat code. I'm going to open the club face. I'm pretty square to my target, if you can kind of see down the line there. So I'm pretty square to my target. Club face is open. But the main component is here, I want to get left and stay left. That's when I'm getting a left. I'm going to say, get left, stay left. And from there, the club is going to hinge and it's going to release. It almost releases more at the bottom like this. You kind of see how the loft is actually getting higher this way. So it comes here. It's almost starting to release early. Hands stay pretty close to our left leg, and then we finish with the club face looking back at us. That gives us our best outcome. Again, so weight left, clubs open, and again, I don't want to slow down. This is where the speed and courage comes in. You just have to trust it, and I'm going to hit this line. And again, ball comes out nice and soft. Okay, so the next two components are going to be, what if I'm hitting a longer bunker shot? Well, that's interesting. So I brought both of my other wedges in here, talk a little bit about that. So these all function about the same. My clubs all have similar bounces. So whether I'm at a 58 or a 54 or 50, you know, I can hit, if I'm hitting one real high and soft, that's my 58. If I have to carry it a little farther, maybe a 54. And if I need to hit one a long ways, then I can hit my 50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a different wedge. This is my 50. Now this might be if I was going to hit a shot maybe, let's say I had 80 yards out of the bunker. So we're not just talking greenside bunkers, I'm talking a longer shot. Sometimes you get unfortunate. These are really hard shots. If you talk to anybody that's playing professional golf, amateur golf at a high level, 30 to 60 yard bunker shots are as hard as you could find. Almost any shot on the golf course, it's about as hard as it gets. So for me, not much changes other than the loft. Now I have 50 degrees instead of 58. Ball's going to come off a little bit lower, and with that flatter face, ball's going to go a little farther. So I'm going to hit one out towards that tree over there, and that's probably 80 yards. Same thing stands here. Face is slightly open. Again, if you're looking down the line, I'm pretty square, but the thing you'll notice right away is where's my weight again. I want the sternum ahead of that ball so that when I get it, I hit the ball first. In this case, the last time we were trying to hit behind it, okay? This time I'm trying to pick a spot very, very close to the ball, again, which makes people nervous, but that's what we need to execute the shot. So line's a little bit closer to the ball, you can see, and again, we can only do that when we're practicing. Everything else stays pretty much the same. I'm gonna get into my left side, stay into my left side, and again, the other thing that you want to talk, you'll hear people say, you have to stay very still in the bunker, okay? We don't want a lot of rocking and rolling and movement, which is why for me, if I stay in my left leg, I can stay pretty much there. Look, I've hardly moved. Hardly moved. The more we move, the more inconsistent our bottom is. Okay, so I'm going to hit this a little bit longer one. Into my left leg, nice and patient. Probably about the right length. So I'll hit that one again. Very much the same, staying left. Just about got my tree. So use your imagination in the bunker. Things that we don't want is we don't want to see the face rolling over. We want the face to stay under this way. And eventually when it finishes, and you'll hear this a lot, you almost look like it's looking back at you as opposed to looking down or away from you. Once that club wants to start rotating down, you can see it turns more into a shovel than what we're trying to utilize with our bounce. And you can even hit shots when you're practicing. This is a 50 degree to a little bit longer pin here. So this is going to allow me to not have to make quite as big a swing. So same shot. This is not my 58. This is probably my lowest, my highest lofted wedge other than my pitching wedge. But you can hit the same shots with a 50 degree because I'm trying to hit a little bit further. So you can vary the different lofts to try to hit different shots. That one's going to have a lot of spin on it. Yep. So my encouragement to you would be to come out and spend some time in the bunker, experiment with it, learn how your club goes through. Each sand's going to be a little bit different. Like here at Country Club of Sioux Falls, our sand is it just has been phenomenal lately. You know, today we're out practicing, it's a little wet, so the sand's a little firmer. You know, in that case, I wouldn't open the club quite as much. I played with somebody this weekend. They had the club so open that they couldn't. All the club could do is skip off it. It's like if you were trying to do, hit that something off like a linoleum floor. If it's hard, the club skips into it, and then we hit those balls that hit right here. It skips, and then hits the ball in the middle. That's a bad outcome. So I'm going to hit one shot for you, and this is just an homage to the guy that taught me the shot, but his name was Larry Beam when I was at New Mexico State University. So you can't see this probably on camera, but this is what we call a plugged lie. I'll get it out so the camera can see a little bit better. This is about as bad a lie as you can get in the golf. That'll happen if the bunker's really soft, okay? Now, Larry told me, and people have watched me do it and they think I'm crazy, but this shot is more of a trick shot. This is more just for entertainment purposes. And I've also seen this little trend on the internet where I don't necessarily agree how they do it, because I believe Larry was probably right on. So this, I'm going to go to this flag, but you can see my back to the target. And now we talked about the club being open. This club is going to be dead shut, but it's pointed right at my target. And I'm just going to allow the weight of the club to hit about right here behind the ball. And it's just going to pop it out. Now, it's not going to come running out like crazy, which is what happens if you try to hit it hard. So this is a one take. We'll see how it goes. Again, I always tell, every time I hit it, I tell Larry that I'm thankful he showed me. That one came out a little fast. I'm going to hit one more. Again, about as bad as a lie as you can get. Back to the target. And out of that lie, most people will be pretty happy. So anyway, get out, have fun, experiment in the bunker, same way around the green. If you're going to work on your short game, try all the shots. High ones, low ones, flop shots, little chip and runs, bump and runs. Try hitting, little chip shots with your hybrid or your 6-iron or 7-iron, and just get comfortable getting the ball close to the hole. We're going to teach you how to putt next. And once you get it up on the green, whether you're putting it, when you get good at this, you're going to be putting 3-4 footers. So we'll teach you how to be a great putter from 3-4 feet. That's going to lower your scores. Thank you so much again for tuning back in. If this is your first time, thanks for joining us. We'll have some more great content coming your way here in the next couple weeks. But again, thanks for joining us here at Free Tip Friday, and look forward to seeing you again soon.